Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we are going to be taking a look at all of the Gen 2 Season 3 KvK matchups that have been announced for each of the groups, or at least most of the matchup, or I should say a decent amount of them. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you guys throw us up, because I've said a lot. Thanks. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. Now, before I show you the stats, we show you the matchups that have been announced so far. There are some asterisks to some of them. If you do want to get access to the public version of the spreadsheet, which is for Gen 1 and Gen 2, I do have them posted, and I'll be updating them at least 24 hours after a video releases for this. So I'll be doing an update today, and I'll probably just be putting in the matchup announcements as well. Join the Discord. Link to that in the pinned comment description down below. Once you join, you will head over here to where it says reaction rolls. Select the one that has the most reactions or the one that says CallofDragons. Then you'll go down. If this does not pop out, click the header, go to COD data stats, and it's going to be here at the bottom where you see temporary statistics for G1 and G2 kingdom pool stats for the KvKs. All right, here we go. Starting at the top. Now, let me, as I said when I did the group announcements, let me mention a couple disclaimers. Number one, for the top 300 player power, this includes most of the numbers here for 15 mil players power and below is not counted. Some of them will be. This column is a mix of data from the 3.9 pool, but mostly the 3.14 pool. Just want to state that because we had to fill the gaps in because there were some missing sets. Again, as I've mentioned, Fuzzy's already working on updates for the bot. And again, some that don't have anything here, right, we just left it blank for now because, again, we're waiting to get some updated stuff. Now, for the groups that have 6 or more kingdoms in them, I didn't end up reaching out to them just because it's a lot. I may wait and follow up with them later, but for now, we're just going to focus on the kingdoms or the KvK groups that have 6 kingdoms. Most of them do. There's only 4 out of the Gen 2 pool that have 7 or more kingdoms. All the others have 6. So let's go through it. Starting with SOS 424. They have not had a matchup decided yet. I am waiting to get an update on that. This is who's there, right? Go, SHWA, SNIC, SIP, 262 GRZ. This matchup has been announced. So this is ASG-VH Ham. They're going against IBO, LOC, HTF. Again, numbers here, you're looking at about 3 bill on the power differential. There's about double there on merits. Activity percentage, about 2.23 in favor of the blue team. If we're looking at T5 numbers from 60 mil plus for totals, it's 113 to 123, right? So there's a 10. I didn't even fill this out. Wow, shocker. What am I doing here? 15? Gotta make sure I can add. And then we'll even this out. So you have 10 more 60 mil pluses on the red team. We have 15 more 100 mil pluses on the red team as well. The blue team has a little bit more power, a little bit more PvP engagement percentage. They have more kills, and they have a little bit more heals. Again, does that make up for the red team having more 100 mil plus and more T5? I don't know. I feel like I'm going to give a little bit of an edge out here to having essentially 3.5 times the amount of 100 mil plus players. I think that will play a factor. Again, more so to the final zone. That's really what we're talking about. We may go through some of the groups and look at individual Zone 2 and how some of the Zone 3 matchups may play out, but I'm looking at holistically here, what does this look like if all of these kingdoms make it to the final zone, as I hope every kingdom has the opportunity to get that one out the way, because it would be very disappointing if it doesn't happen. However, and then again, I'll show you where everyone is here, right? So ASG, VH, Ham. ASG here, Ham here, VH here. So it's a 1-1-1-1-1 all the way around. Next group. This is 60-22. Yeah, gotta make sure here. This one hasn't been decided yet. So this is GF, Ice, baby. Riven, Goa, ST, and 1UP. Still waiting to hear on them. Next group we have is 6021. This is BD20, DAU, PX, L2NV, LPG, AMZ. This has not been decided yet. I'm still waiting to hear on what that looks like. 6020 hasn't been decided either. This is Block, AXT, SN, SG97, O5DK, SPA. Haven't heard anything yet on this one. Next group, 6019. This one hasn't been decided either. This is Chubb, K95, Beck, GD, Elves, and Sura. Now we're going to start getting to most of these groups that have been decided at this point. So this is 6018, aside from the two we've already mentioned above. We have Gen, IME, Seal versus GPX 211 SHPZ. So there's about a 3 bill power differential here. We have about 800 mil. Again, looking at, what is that, 1.59% for PvP engagement in favor of the blue team. We got plus 19 bill for kills, plus 52 bill for deads, plus 21 bill for heals. Looking at some T5 numbers, at 60 mil plus, we have 36 more in favor of the blue team at 305 to 269, and we have 4 more 100 mil pluses in favor of the blue team at 30 to 26. I don't think this matchup is that bad on paper. Again, the kind of subjective line is always going to be who's going to show up, right? I think that's always going to be a constant in any KvK no matter what, because you just don't know who will and who won't. However, the 3660 mil plus I don't think is massively impactful, just as much as I think only having a 4-player differential at 100 mil, depending on exactly what those numbers are, if it's and how high it is, there's a factor there. But I like the fact that these numbers are lower than some of the other group differentials we've seen at 60 mil, and we will probably continue to see at 60 and 100 mil plus. So this group I do like, and I think it is a little bit closer on paper than maybe some may think, but we'll see. This is starting positions. Gen, IME, Seal. So they basically opted for a north versus south, which is kind of cool. So it's the top 3 here versus the bottom 3. So really the only kingdoms that probably won't get any action potentially until Zone 3, and that's only if their teammates Zone 3s get invaded, would be IME and 211, right? Otherwise they'll have to wait until the FZ hits before they get any action. Next. For the next group we have here, this is KM. Oops, I'm going to not go too high here. 6018. So, sorry, 6017. KM Noob ROD versus IFAP ERA BPT. We have about a 10 bill, almost 11 bill differential here in favor of the blue team. We have a plus 800 mil merit in favor of blue team. The PvP percentage numbers favor the red team at about, what is that, plus 39%. We have a plus 9 bill in favor of kills for the blue team. We have, oh gosh, what is it? Let me do some math. 17, 60, 85 million deads more for the blue team. We have 21 billion more heals for the blue team. Let's get to some T5 numbers. 49 more 60 mil plus in favor of the blue team. We have 14 more 100 mil plus in favor of the red team. The red team has a little bit more PvP engagement. This I would, it's interesting. I kind of weigh when I look at this that part of me wants to give the edge out here. Again, if we're talking, as I've said, for final zone fight, a little bit on the blue team, just because of the gap for some of the other numbers. Do I think that this could go either way, and some people may add a little bit more weighted value to the 14 100 mil plus when it's basically about a quarter, if not a little more than a quarter, additions or additional on the red team side? Sure. I would give the edge out slightly to the blue team. I think there's a little bit more there, but I think this is also, I think this matchup is probably a little bit closer than the stats may indicate. We'll see. And I'd be curious to hear, again, how the people from either side feel about this one too as well, and what you guys think about this one. So KM Noob Rod. is who we're looking at. So KM, Rod, Noob. So it's a 1-1-2-2, right? Is how you're looking at this. Next, 60-16. This is an interesting one. They have decided here to basically do a 2v2v2. And that's up until zone 3. Once zone 4 opens, then it becomes a 4v2. And it is UDF X ASC Kong versus DYH MBH. Now, I just want to pause for a moment and say that I love the creativity here. I love the fact that they took it upon themselves to whether or not, and again, my assumption and my hope is that all the kingdoms here will make it to the final zone. But I love how they didn't constrain themselves by thinking, oh, well, just because we set the early matchup like this, it has to last throughout the entire KvK. Some groups can get away with that. Not all the groups can. Sometimes modifications may need to be made. Whether that's a 1v5, if it's a 1v1v1v1v1 free-for-all, true battle royale from zone 1 or from zone 2 and 3, and then the final zone includes everyone, and then you figure out what the best matchup is there. If it's a 2v4, if it's a 2v2v2, if it's a 3v3, and it can work out that way from start to finish. However you work out from zone 2 to zone 3, as long as once you get to zone 4, all the kingdoms are able to participate. And whether you keep the matchup the way it has been because it works, or if you just need to modify it again so that way it works for specifically the FZ and it's as balanced as it can be. That's going to promote as much fighting as possible. I just want to applaud this group for being in a position where, look, maybe the 3v3 didn't work out. And this is what they felt as a collective group was the best way forward. And then opted for this in the FZ. Now, do I think this could have been a 3v3 in the FZ? Absolutely. I think we could definitely get better and closer numbers than what this looks like right now. However, again, I'll also do updated numbers as well, as I mentioned, whenever I do get the next scan from Fuzzy, because I think some things will change post Brink of War. So even if we get something around the 21st or so, that would be okay with me, and then we can kind of cover things pre-zone 2. But this is what it looks like. So you got plus 17 bill in favor of the red team. We got plus 2.1 bill merits in favor. PvP percentage isn't super far off, right? We're looking at 1.96% in favor of the red team. We got basically double this for kills on their team, more than double on deads. We have almost double on heals for the red team. And then you have 3 times the amount of 100 mil pluses and basically double for 60 mil plus, right? So it's pretty leaning. It almost feels like the BDO Echo PvP stress test is applying to more than just the strongest KvK group in history right now. But let's look at this, right? So we have DY, MBH. DY right here, MBH. So it's southeast versus basically this U-turn up here, right on the northwest side. 60-15. This group is BB, EIA, EIS, or sorry, EIA because it's 61's old, ANCS, LAW, TG, and IW. Matchup here is 37. We're looking at about 9. About a 9 bill power differential in favor of the blue team. We have about a 1.4 billion merits in favor of the blue team. The PvP percentage isn't too far off, right? So we're looking at 1.34% in favor of blue team. Kills, we got about a plus 19 bill here, 18.5 in favor of blue. We have plus 80 million in deads in favor of blue. Heals, we're looking at plus 20 bill in favor of blue. But now let's get to the T5 numbers. So 82 more 60 mil plus in favor of blue, but 15 more 100 mil plus in favor of red. I still give the edge out to blue. I think that's pretty clear. I think this is more than just a little bit of an advantage. I'm not going to go as far as saying it's a huge, overwhelming advantage, but I'm going to say that this feels like it's an average advantage that we're seeing, which is more than a little bit. Positions, BBEIA, ANCS. So BBEIA, ANCS. So it's basically a north versus south approach that they ended up working out here. Next is going to be 60-14. This is OAH, BXS, NWE versus Dawn LTS AC for 6014. We're looking at about a 2 bill differential here between the two. Here, 100 million. You could see PvP engagement numbers very close. We're looking at, what is that, +4, +38%. Really close numbers. +14 bill in favor of red team for kills. +33 million in favor of the blue team for deads. +1.7, 1.6 billion in favor of heals. We look at the T5 numbers. 44 more 60 mil plus in favor of blue. 28 more 100 mil plus in favor of red. Again, blue has a little more power, a little more merits. They have a little bit more deads. I think this is closer on paper than, because some might say, well, the 28 100 mil plus is a little steep if you're comparing it to 60 mil. You'd like to see a little bit more of maybe like a 1-to-3, 1-to-4 ratio for that. And some people will view that as kind of a minimum or average. I don't think this is awful, but I would have liked to seen maybe more 60 mil pluses on the blue team, a little bit more, maybe double, and then having the 28 100 mil pluses. So yeah, again, I would give the edge out here to the red team just because I would put a little bit more weight and value on what the current ratio is in favor of the 100 mil pluses on the red team. And I would probably give them an average advantage, not a little bit more than a little. Let's look at positions. So we have OAH, BXS, NWE. So you can see here, South versus North approach for this KvK as well. And we'll update the graphics too as well once we get all the matchups in. The next one is going to be 60-13. This one is MFD, DBB, UHA versus Laws, CMAR, SW8D. We have pretty dead even power. We have very close merits. I mean, this is 100, about 100 mil separates. PvP engagement percentage is 0.19. So really good. The kills are very close, about 5 bill, 5.4 separates. Deads, very close, about 7 million. Heals, 7 bill, maybe almost 8. We look at the T5 numbers. We have 42 more 60 mil pluses in favor of the blue team. We have 16 more 100 mil pluses in favor of the red team. I mean, folks, this is a pretty fair matchup. Like, this is probably the closest and most balanced matchup on paper that we've seen so far. We still got 4 more groups to go, but this is the best so far. And again, it's not to say that the others are bad. Most of the others are pretty close, but this is just the closest so far. Let's look at positionings now. MFD, DBB, UHA. MFD, DBB, UHA. It's 1-1-1-1-1 all around. Okay, next group. This is 60-12. At the moment, for the latest update I've got, it's been only 2 kingdoms are paired in a group, and that's Luno and HWG. Everyone else is solo. What this means is that this KvK, for all intensive purposes, is at the moment looking like it's going to be a free-for-all. It's going to be a battle royale, and the fact is that you're probably going to see some people getting zone locked and getting their zone 3s taken over, and people getting pushed back to zone 1, and we may not necessarily have everyone in the FZ. However, I will say this. The hope I have for this group is not only do I think it's super interesting to see what is going to amount to be a free-for-all here if everything stays the way that it is, right? But what would be the pinnacle of this KvK group is if every kingdom made it to the FZ and they truly had a free-for-all. Even if Luno and HWG paired together, right? How would that look like? I just want to say, listen, I do not agree. I don't agree that free-for-alls will work. I don't agree that, because again, historical references have shown us that in most cases, when free-for-alls are done, people will team together. People will fight similar people. And it has just happened. But is the thought of a free-for-all in the FZ intriguing? Abso-freaking-lutely it is. Would I be excitedly moist to see that happen? Yeah, I mean, I have paper towels sitting right next to me. Absolutely. So we'll see how this plays out. It should be noted that Luno and HWG are on complete opposite sides of each other. So it's not like they're next to each other, but IR and OO, right? Like they can't really assist one another. Even if they go here, they can only make it here. They'd have to like go here, here, but most of the it's probably just going to be going in and out, not in, or sorry, it's going to go, yeah, in, out, not out, in. Yeah, if that makes sense. So if the pass works the way I think, where it's like you have to be in the zone 2 to go into the zone 3, you can't go from the zone 3 into the zone 2, depending on how the pass works. It may just work both ways. If it does, then yes, they could. It's just that HWG would have to go into this zone 2, into this zone 3. Luno would have to go from this zone 2 to this zone 3, and then they'd have to meet here between the IR and the 25 IW zone 2. So next group, 60-11. We got 3 more here. This is ED, SV, KOV, Zoo, BNR, COD. Estimated here is about a 2 bill power difference. We have merits pretty close, 500 mil that separates. PvP engagement percentage still close, 1.09%. Kills plus 28. Bill in favor. For deads, we're at plus 15 mil. Heals, we're at 11, about 11. Bill, T5 numbers, we have 19 more 60 mil pluses in favor of the red team. We have 61 more 100 mil pluses in favor of the blue team. I think it's pretty clear who you're probably going to give this to. I think that there is I'm going to go with an average to maybe a little bit more. I'm going to go with a little bit more than an average. I'll go with a good advantage. We'll go from average to good. This is a good advantage in favor of the blue team. And again, as we talk about final zone, right? If everyone's battling it out there. So let's look at this. Zoo, BNR, COD. Zoo, COD, BNR down here. So we have a 1-2-2-1 split for how that looks. Second to last group. And these are some of probably the more interesting ones. I think it's funny because I think the second largest group being TFS and the largest group being BDO Echo have some of the most drama around them so far. Maybe we'll talk about this later. But for matchup purposes, here we go. 460-10. It's TFS, WB, NTS, EIL. It previously was A2G, NTS, EIS, from what I was told, and then it was SSG opting solo. A2G later decided that the 3-2, the 3v2v1 wasn't sitting well with them, so they left the NTS EIS group, regardless of how official that was or not. I'm just saying, now they are solo. So basically, this could turn into a 2v2v2 until the FZ. But for all intents and purposes, officially, it's a 2v2 v1v1 is what we have now. So we'll see. So let's look at the groups. TFS, what was it? TFS, WB, we have down here, NTS, EIS, and SSG, A2G. So they're kind of all like in their 2-section quadrant, right? You got a northwest, a southwest, and then the southern side. Like everyone's kind of split next to each other. So it's going to be interesting. I will just say that. If we look at some of the T5 numbers here for the groups or for the pairs, it's 323, 185. Obviously, the blue team has a little bit more of an advantage, so NTS EIS does. If we look at SSG and A2G, even if they combined, you'd be looking at 178 and 341. The strongest team here would still be NTS, EIS, and I would argue, again, they'd have the most kills, most power, not most heals. This team would have most heals, and most deads is on the red team. Highest, if we looked at if we're looking at, I'd have to do an average for these guys, but the PvP engagement numbers here for TFS and WBE are phenomenal, right? Like they're up there with EIS if you're just looking at their previous season performance. So we'll see what ends up happening here in the FZ. Again, how the zones play out. The one thing I'm going to say, and as I've been saying this consistently, This is the number 2 strongest KvK group on paper at the moment. Like I said, this group down here we'll talk about in a moment is the strongest. They're almost at 150 bill, right? It's the strongest KvK group in history. Nothing would disappoint me more if we don't see an opportunity for all the kingdoms to make it to the FZ. So we'll see how that plays out. Lastly, let's get to the big Mamma Jamma, which is a 2v4. It's BDO Echo versus WAO RAC ROG GG. And this is in 6009. There is an update that I did receive, which before we talked about this on the live stream when we touched on this yesterday, which a bunch of you tuned in for. So it was absolutely awesome. I had a blast, and I hope you did too. It was confirmed that GG was going to be given kind of a freer pass to get to the FZ. Now, that has been rescinded, and it's them having to kind of fight their way out, basically, is what I assume. Until we at least hear maybe another specific directive or update from that. And you'll see why I'm saying that in a moment once we look at the map. As we look at the matchup, we have 51 to 98 bill. It's almost double. Merits are doubled. The activity PvP percentage numbers are closer, pretty close, right? You have a 0.56%. That's really close. It's under 1. Kills, we're looking at plus 95 mil in favor of the blue team. Deads, plus 361 mil, so 50% more. Heals, a little bit less than double. You're looking at 86, 89 bill differential. T5 numbers. We have 390 to 899. 509 more 60 mil pluses on the blue team. 116. 317 to 433. There's 116 more 100 mil pluses on the blue team. The only thing I will say for this group is, and I personally think there's 2 ways this is going to play out. And let me show you how the map looks first, right? So BD Echo. Echo's here, BD's here. This is why people were memeing about GG getting locked out of Zone 2 and then Zone 3 and this being Zone 1 locked because of the positioning. There are 2 ways I see this KvK playing out. I very much would have liked for them to opt for a 3v3. We talked about some 3v3 predictions on how that could have worked, and I thought the numbers looked really good on paper for what we were able to theory craft, if you will. However, one way this could work out is where everyone does their fighting in Zone 2 and Zone 3, but every kingdom is going to be allowed to make it to the final zone. And then you'll fight it out in the final zone. You let that go for a week or however long, and then you say, okay, now people can go and attack. Now it's okay. The time has expired where you guys can now attack each other from those level 4 passes, right? That connect Zone 2 to Zone 3. Option 2, and I hate to say it because I just don't want to see it, but it has to be said because it's most likely probably going to happen in a number of KvK groups, unfortunately, which is that once the level 4 pass opens before the level 5 pass, which is to get to the final zone, right? This is level 5 pass here. Level 4 pass is Zone 2 to Zone 3. So it basically allows you to attack across or an adjacent Zone 3, which means that if you take over that Zone 3, you've effectively locked out that kingdom from making it to the final zone. This is why I say option 2 is that Echo and BDO basically take individual challenges, right? They take ISO matchups, basically, right? So they take over the Zone 2s here from GG. They take over Zone 3. They don't let GG get in. And then it's really just a matter of fending off RAC and WAO in their Zone 2s. So what they could do is deal with GG first, do some light building, or maybe they do half and half. Maybe each of them sends half here, or for example, if GG goes one way and they fight Echo, or the other way and they fight BDO, then they take them on. The other one focuses on the other. So you're still attacking 2 people. They could do it where if GG tries to push both ways, they push them in, and then they immediately go and address RAC and WAO. Let's say that worked out in the best case scenario for them. They lock GG out of the Zone 2s. They push out WAO and RAC out of the zone 2. So now they have 4 zone 2s out of 6. They control. They're probably just going to do some skirmish battles here and there at passes, right, if they're able to get that. But then it's getting into the zone 3. Now they're going to each get their own zone 3. And they will not be able to get into their opponent's zone 3 until the level 4 pass opens. However, then you could just basically have a rinse and repeat of what already happened. You could just have a simple situation of BDO going through their zone 2 level 4 pass to get to the zone 3, and Echo doing the same 3, pushing out GG, and then they go and address WAO's area because they already have their zone 2 controlled, and then they push into their zone 3. And then if the level 4 pass is a two-way access, they could just go into the zone 2 and then push into the ROG zone 3. So yeah, right. Oh, sorry, the WAO zone 3 and the RAC, once that, and then once that's over, yeah, they could both push into ROG. And effectively, could they possibly zone lock the other 4 kingdoms out? Yeah. Do I think it's likely? I don't. And I say that because there's just too much power. There's too many troops available. Will there be enough time to heal in between? But am I absolutely counting them out of doing that? No. I just don't think it's likely. But those are the 2 options that I think we could see play out. I obviously am in favor of option 1, just as I am for every KvK group, because I want to see this final boss crescendo PvP. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want the players to feel unfulfilled. I'm thinking about how can we get every single player in the KvK to have the opportunity to participate in not only an amazing season, but an amazing finale, which is the final zone. And then, like I said, if you eventually, after that, want to go and attack the cross zone 3s after a period of time from fighting in the FC, fine with that. You eventually want to push people all the way out and back to their zone 1, fine with that. But at least let me see the pinnacle culmination of what the KvK season is and should be, with all the kingdoms participating in the final zone. That's it. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. What matchups are you most excited for? Which ones do you think might just end up being farmer KvK seasons? Which ones maybe are you disappointed in? And any thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.